Welcome to another episode in Onfleet's Partnership Highlight Series. I'm Lindsay from Artifact, and in today's episode, we are talking with Javier Rojas from the Kennet Group, who recently led a Series A investment of $14 million with Onfleet. Javier has served as the managing director of the Kennet Group for their U.S.-led investment activities for 2 decades. Javier and his team bring many years of experience building successful global SaaS businesses and truly share Onfleet's vision to build the operating system for last mile delivery.
My name is Javier Rojas. I'm managing director at Kennet Partners in the U.S., lead the U.S. investment activities and have done that since 2000. Kennet is a growth equity fund. We back bootstrap, founder-led, high-growth tech companies and invested in Onfleet because we saw them as a successful high-growth company. I'm so glad to talk to you today.
Thank you, Javier.
So can you tell me about the process of finding companies that match the profile that you're looking for to invest in?
Great. Yes. Happy to do that. We are a little different from other firms in that we are hyper-focused on the type of companies that we invest in. We focus on companies that haven't raised capital before, but typically either through angel money or through customer revenue have been able to grow to somewhere in the 5 to 15 million in revenue range. And we find that these businesses tend to flip at that point in time and focus, instead of finding product market fit, they focus on scaling. And we're all about helping companies like this scale. And we're all about helping them grow from 10 to 100 million in revenue. After that, the public markets tend to start taking over. And that's our model. And so we identified Onfleet as a company with those parameters. We actually use software algorithm. We look at 100,000 companies continuously and look for signals that identify successful companies like that. And Onfleet matched our signals as being a fairly attractive company. And I think there are a couple of factors. One is they were growing very quickly. 2, they were in a segment that we think is quite attractive, last mile delivery. And then particularly now that we're in COVID, this is a segment that was growing. They were growing quite quickly before COVID, but COVID's been an accelerator on the move to kind of the e-commerce landscape and moving to more e-commerce. And so they're participating in that.
What about the team at Onfleet attracted you to invest in them?
So I'd say the number one thing is corporate culture. One of the things we find with bootstrap businesses is that they tend to have a very well-developed sense of team culture because they've basically had to get by with relatively little money, and that tends to bond a group together versus a business that maybe had ready access to capital from day one. And one of the things that came across is I think that they're very bright, sharp, and driven, but also don't have high egos. They kind of check their egos at the door, as the saying goes. And I think that's pretty critical in today's environment for you to recruit the best talent and to be able to make your partnerships work and people want to partner with you. You really have to have that culture. And it's certainly what we look for teams that are building, kind of long-term tribes.
Yeah, that does sound pretty important, especially when things are changing so rapidly. You need people who are going to be ready to face it without an ego. So that's pretty great.
Yeah.
When you go into investing in a company like this, I imagine there's some kind of negotiation process. And how did that go between Kennet and Onfleet?
Yeah, so I think we reached out to them just as they were beginning their evaluation process on the raise. They actually were completely self-funded. With COVID, they realized that they were going to need to accelerate some investments in the business, and that's kind of what drove the need for the raise. And that's what we had anticipated, and so we caught them at just the right time. They did have a lot of interest from a number of other parties. Some were minority deals, or some were majority deals. Generally, we look for founders that are really excited about building a billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar outcome. And I think they decided that they were those founders that they saw that opportunity. They wanted to continue to grow the business. And so that's basically the process we went through.
Was there anything about COVID that changed how you were looking at it from your end?
To me, I think for us, what we saw was that COVID is accelerating a number of trends in the marketplace that we were already investing against. And I just think some SaaS companies or some businesses are going to do better in this environment than others. And so obviously focused on those. And they're the ones that need the capital the most. So I think the two trends that we tend to focus on are, first of all, the use of AI and analytics. We think that basically replacing or transitioning or augmenting white collar workforce activities with AI and analytics through better workflows and processes is going to be one of the biggest value creators over the next several decades. And so we look for businesses where AI and algorithms are important. And obviously, Onfleet's business is driven by the cost savings it can create through better routing and more efficient management of deliveries and better customer service. So I think that was one factor. Again, the other trend is the move from people buying in store and in person and buying more online. And of course that's going to drive deliveries. We think that there's going to be an increased focus in customer satisfaction and customer success management. And that's going to force a lot of companies to kind of take over their delivery process for their business and realize that's an extension of their company. And so Amazon is setting the standard for that in e-commerce. And so we're seeing, how they can really differentiate in terms of delivery management. And I think that we're going to see that in every segment of the economy.
Nice. And you sort of started in this direction, but what do you see in the future for Onfleet? How do you see them growing, adapting? What do you see for them in the future?
So I think that's the exciting thing about our interactions with the team. The team has a pretty broad vision in terms of where they see the market going. Often we're working with teams or we run into teams that are fighting the current battles and have a hard time seeing beyond that. I think one of the things that impressed us about Aled and the rest of the founders and the rest of the team is that they have a pretty broad vision for the business. And it's pretty simply stated to have Onfleet be the OS for last mile delivery. And if you step back and look at last mile delivery, it really is a component in a broad ecosystem, typically from some e-commerce engine, being third party or internal. It involves couriers, it involves drivers, it involves stores and vendors. You might have multiple delivery partners. And all of this needs to be coordinated and managed. And if you really want to deliver high level customer care and quality care, you need to have an SLAs. You need to have shared information and be able to deliver that. And yet at the same time, you need to be able to do that with relatively simple, easy to use and understand products. Threading that needle between being able to tie into all those ecosystems and at the same time do that through ease of use, one-click access. That I think that's the needle they're threading. That's a pretty broad vision on kind of where they play in the e-commerce marketplace. I'd say the last thing is then you're going to roll that back to the data and analytics and AI and being able to pull that data in and then be able to optimize the delivery process across those platforms. And then you basically see a fairly large business that they're building.
What kinds of companies or customers do you think will benefit most from Onfleet services and products?
Well, I think any company that has focus on customer care and the delivery process. They're in a broad range of verticals: food delivery, groceries, pharmacy deliveries. Those are big markets for them. There's a large category of online businesses that are being funded and growing, kind of basically re-envisioning kind of the home services, food meal plans, for example. Those are good fits. So anybody who's starting a business now or has a business that's focused on having some kind of service delivered or product delivered to the home really needs to look at a solution like this.
Well, Is there anything else about Onfleet or about your relationship with Onfleet that you think would be important for people to know?
Yeah, we're pretty excited about working with the team and helping them grow, build the business. We are helping them with looking at acquisitions and getting them ready for the next raise, recruiting talent as well. Yeah, we're looking forward to helping them get to the next level.
That's great. All right. Well, Javier, thank you so much for talking with me today. And it sounds pretty exciting, everything that's going on.
Great, Lindsay. Well, very nice to meet you.